Hey, it's Ethan here at eTrailer. Right now we're going to be taking a look at the RockyMounts GuideRail Hitch Bike Rack and how it fits on our 2021 Ford F-150. This is going to be a really solid option for you if you want to get two bikes up to 60 pounds where you need them to go. It's going to hold on to our bikes in a pretty unique fashion with this dual wheel mount design. So if you want to, you can get most bikes on here with a caveat that we'll get into just a little bit later. But we don't make any frame contact, so if you want to get your carbon frame bikes on here, you can. Alternative frame bikes will work as well, and maybe even up to e-bikes as long as you stay within the 3-inch tire width limit. So it does have a lot of cool features, the first of which is the fact that we can tilt the rack away with the bikes loaded up. And to do that, we're just going to pull on this blue handle down here. It's at the front, so it's really easy to get to even if you have two bikes loaded up. It tilts really aggressively, so we can get most of the access to our tailgate. It'll just barely make contact once it gets to the very bottom right here. So you can't necessarily sit down on it, but if you have a tonneau cover and you need to get things out of your bed, now would be a great time to do it. Otherwise, there's plenty of room at any other time to just get into the bed as you need to normally. Tilting the rack back up can be a little bit of a challenge. Trying to get all the leverage from the bottom part here, again, if you have two bikes loaded up, might be kind of difficult. So just keep that in mind. But from here, we can actually work on getting our bike removed. So first thing we need to do is push this lever in towards the tray till it releases, and then we'll lift up. And now we can get this arm down. And we'll repeat this process for the other side. Press that arm, open up the lever, get that hoop out of the way, and we can get our bike removed. I'll set this off to the side, and you can take a closer look at the trays, and also the fact that on the hoops, we do have a couple of different options as far as tire length goes. So the trays are slender, and they only do take a tire width of 3 inches, which is unfortunate. But we can do a few things with tire size. We do have a tool to loosen this up, slide that down, put it back in, tighten it back up to accommodate a couple different tire sizes. Get this folded down, go around to the other side and do the same thing. You'll see if I close this up, you'll hear that ratcheting mechanism, which is just making those little micro adjustments that it would make on your tire. Also on the tray here, we do have a couple spots for your chain lock. That being said, we can fold the rack up towards the vehicle to save a little bit of space, but I actually am going to get some measurements first to see what it looks like in this position. So, from the bumper to the furthest point out, it's going to be right around 30 inches, so it doesn't stick out too terribly far, but something you might notice already is just how high up the rack sits. So as far as ground clearance goes, we're about 30 inches up from the ground to that lever, and as high as you're going to have to lift the highest bike here on this tray, it's going to be about 33 inches. So if you do have a 60-pound bike and you don't necessarily love the option of lifting it up this high to get it on there, that's something you're going to want to keep in mind about this rack. Now we'll fold it up. You hear it click into place again, and we'll get a couple more measurements. It doesn't sit very close to the tailgate, coming in at about 3.5 inches to this closest point here. As far as total distance added on, that's going to be about 13.5 inches. So it's really compact in this position, and it's not going to get any closer than that to the tailgate. Looking at it in this position, let's check out what it covers on the back of the vehicle so you know what it's like when you're driving with this on there. Your backup camera is going to be right here in the middle, so we have tons of room to see over there, over the top of the rack, and definitely on the sides. Your license plate is right here in the middle, which is blocked pretty heavily by the middle of our trays. So there's going to be angles where you can see that from, either on the left or the right side, but from the middle that's going to be really heavily obstructed. It doesn't go quite wide enough to interfere with our taillights though, and it's not tall enough to reach over the top of our tailgate. Coming down, we can take a look at how it fits into our hitch receiver. So the rack does use a 2-inch shank, fits into our 2-inch hitch receiver. It's held in place by this anti-rattle bolt and a lock pod on the end which is going to be key to that chain lock that we talked about a little bit earlier. So it's in there, it's really secure, and as you can see, I'm shaking the whole car, and it's really, really sturdy in there. So overall, I would say that the RockyMounts GuideRail is going to be a great option for you if you're worried about bike-to-bike contact, just because we do have those really long trays, and we can accommodate that wheelbase of up to 55 inches. You slide those back or forward depending on how you need to avoid that contact. It does tilt, it does fold, tilts really far, still not quite enough to get the tailgate down, but this has one of the more aggressive tilts, so if this isn't going to get the job done, there aren't a lot of racks that will. That being said though, if you do like this design, I would say that this is still a really nice choice. This again was just a quick look at the RockyMounts GuideRail, how it fits on our 2021 Ford F-150.